Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon. We're so happy that you all are here. We have more people that are joining in the waiting room, but we want to start the meeting on time so that we have plenty of time for our presentation because we do start with our regional reports. Welcome to the March local reparations strategy session. We are excited that you all are here. So much has been happening. I've been able to join the regional sessions, at least the Midwest and the East regional sessions. There is so much happening. Thank you all for your leadership, prayers, and energy to you all because it has been a struggle, but we are making great milestones. So Bailey, I don't have the agenda. I know that we switched it around. Are we jumping right into regional reports or to our partner reports?
We are starting with partner updates, and I'll put the agenda in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. And so we have some new folks that are joining. We're excited to see that. This meeting is for us to strategize, for us to work together, to hear from the local reparations movement. We've broken it up into regions so that we get extensive reports, but there is also additionally a regional meeting for wherever you're calling from. So we do hope that you plug into the regional meetings moving forward. A couple reparations updates from First Repair. We are excited to be moving forward with the regional retreat that will be in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 13th through the 15th. We're asking that you save the date now. More details are forthcoming, but what will make this retreat different than our regular symposium is this one will really be centered around self-determination. We talk so much about the pursuit of repair and justice to be delivered from institutions and government bodies, but this is going to focus on self-determination by way of cooperative economics and how we heal ourselves as a community and do that in partnership with our allies. Our Tulsa leaders are really taking lead. We're in partnership and we're looking for more partners to collaborate on this important event. We need to show up for Tulsa. Tulsa is the most obvious case for local reparations, and we all should know their story, but we all need to be there to support them. We already have Reparations United and NARC that have agreed to be partners in this. We have Redress Network as well. I'm pretty sure we have Reparations Education Project, and so there is really a need for us to be all hands on deck for Tulsa. We will be there for their regular Juneteenth celebration. So in the evening, they have concerts and different celebrations and marketplaces and things like that. So we're very much looking forward to that. Additionally, you all did such an incredible job at the symposium on informing the architects, defining humanity, architects and interior designers on what we want to have as a resource center. So it was informed by the attendees. There were 226 of us that were there in Evanston that said what we want to see, what we want to feel, what we want to gain, how we want to grow, collaborate, and so on. Long story short, we are excited to be resourced to launch that resource center in Evanston on Juneteenth. So on June 19th, we will have a grand opening and programming is to be determined. But please do consider saving the date for that, or just know that it's going to be there. We at First Repair are hiring a COO. We're excited about that. If you're interested in the job, it is actually still open. You can apply at nextgroupus.com. It is a full-time position that will be based here in our Evanston office, right next door to First Repair. If you've been here, it's a living wage. It pays up to $150,000 a year plus benefits and a really great work environment. So please just keep that in mind, pass the information along if you like. Other than that, please follow us on socials and we keep you updated there. And starting in April, we're going to do much better about a newsletter going forward. So thank you, and I would love to pass it on to one of our partners. Let's go with Redress Network.
I'm happy to chime in. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry I'm not on camera. I'll keep my updates very brief. The students from Columbia and Howard have been collaborating incredibly on supporting the Black Audit Project in Detroit and also in Kansas City. And our desire is to have this research support the Reparations Task Force in their efforts and initiatives to advance repair in those cities. So it's been an incredible experience, but we are really working morning, noon, and night. And I just want to give a shout out to all of the community members who provided us with incredible insight into those cities. We cannot do the work without our partners. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Follow Redress Network for more details and to stay updated. Next, if we could have Brother Cam Howard from Reparations United.
Greetings, everyone. And Robin, thank you, First Repair, for allowing me to be a partner in this very unique work that's being done and critical work that's being done. Just like to give a quick update on the Earn a Black Vote campaign. It's a campaign that was initiated to utilize and leverage the voting power within the Black electorate at this time to persuade the president to create an executive order to establish a reparations commission before the election. We have 3 phases of work that we have initiated. The first phase was a 30-day campaign targeting the president on 3 concepts, messaging concepts. The second phase is 2 polls that we're running, one in swing states and one is a national poll, to ask the question, would Black voters be more likely to return or vote for Biden if he could establish a reparations commission? Would they be less likely, or would it not matter at all? We utilize that information to also leverage that for in our meetings with the DNC and hopefully with some of Biden's people. And our third phase of messaging is starting April 1st, and everyone who has participated in any of the Earn a Black Vote teach-ins or messaging sessions, information sessions, will get a message on that third phase. Will consist of 4 20-day campaigns around the 3 concepts of the power of the Black vote, the demonstrated political will that exists for reparations in this country, and the fact that this is a historical moment for the Democratic Party and for America right now. And then the 4th state concept will be around what's good for Black America is good for America. So we'll be running that from April 1st to Juneteenth, and we're asking people to distribute those messages through their social media for those 20-day periods within that time frame. So people will get an idea, we get a letter to inform them of that. Also, we just completed our reparations model slavery disclosure legal toolkit with Aaron Fox Schiff and Howard University School of Law Movement Lawyering Clinic. So we presented that a couple of days ago to about 30 organizations in California. We have, so if anyone is interested in initiating the slavery disclosure in their cities or states, contact us and we'll be able to do that. And also we're presenting also to a group in California, the Reparative Basic Income Program that was established in Chicago. So if anyone's, again, interested in implementing either of those projects in your locations, reach out to us at Reparations United.
Thank you, Cam. And it looks like our other partners are the International Center for Transitional Justice. Normally, Virginia would be here to report. I don't think there's an update. And additionally, the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center, and there is no report at this time. I do know that most of the partners will be presenting and reporting at the April Permanent Forum of People of African Descent convening in Geneva at the United Nations. And we look forward to reporting back on that activity in May. And Bailey, is it correct that we're going into regional reports next?
Correct.
Awesome. And I see the good brother Jean-Pierre here, and Jean-Pierre is going to report on the very important work that's happening in the East. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Robin, and it's nice to be here, everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jean-Pierre Brutus. I'm with the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, as well as the New Jersey Reparations Council. So I'm going to update you on the East region, in particular 3 states from our last meeting. The first, Massachusetts. In our last meeting, Amherst is essentially seeking $2 million for their reparations task force. There will be a statewide convening of Massachusetts advocates. And as part of that statewide convening, folks are going to draft a statewide bill, a proposed bill for a state task force in Massachusetts. I think if you're interested in participating in that, if you live in Massachusetts, you should contact Kathleen Anderson. The next state, I just want to be brief, is New Jersey. The New Jersey Reparations Council is going to hold its next public session on April 17th. That's going to be hosted by the Public Safety and Justice Committee. That'll be at 6:30 in the evening. It'll be virtual. Also, the council is going to hold an in-person event on Juneteenth. That's going to be also streamed live on YouTube, and it's going to be moderated by the New Yorker staff writer Jelani Cobb. If you want to find out more about the New Jersey Reparations Council and upcoming public sessions, you can go to the website here. And the last state I want to inform you all about is New York. There's a lot of energy in New York. As many of you know, New York just recently passed their state task force bill, and the governor signed the bill, and also announced the members of the task force. As part of the effort, there's been a launch of a new grassroots organization called New Yorkers for Reparations. And the purpose of that organization is to create a statewide movement of people who are politically educated about reparations in New York, ensure the commission is informed by as many New Yorkers as possible, particularly Black New Yorkers, ensure the commission takes a comprehensive and transformative justice approach to its recommendations, and also tell a fuller, more complete story about New York and how we arrived at this point. So I know it's called New Yorkers for Reparations, but anyone is welcome, right? There's a lot of energy here, so the group welcomes anyone. They're actually going to have their second meeting this afternoon at 3:30 Eastern. I'm going to put the website in the chat. So if you're interested in signing up, you can do that and join this afternoon's meeting. And this is just, this is basically, the basic elements of the organization are being put together now. So if you want to get in on the ground floor, I urge you to join this evening or this afternoon. There's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of folks, and we're going to create direct relationships with the folks on the task force in New York. If you want to find out more information, you can contact me or Trevor Smith from Black Bliss Collective, or Nicole Carty from Get Free, or Antar Keith from Democrats Abroad, or Richard Brookshire from Black Veterans Project. And so that's some of the work being done in the East region. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have the South? I did see Brother Jamoke. Let's go with the South region next. While Jamoke is coming on, Bailey, if you could put the meeting dates for each region in the chat. And if you want to get a link invitation to the regional meetings, please do email bailey@firstrepair.org. Jamoke, are you ready? If not, I'll move on with what's happening in the Midwest. A lot happening in the Midwest. We had a very informative meeting this week or last. I'm losing track. There's a lot of activity happening in Minnesota at this time. We had a very thorough report from Traherne. We ask that you contact Traherne directly if you want to get directly involved with what's happening there. They had a Black Lives Matter reparations conference. Cam Howard was a keynote. Many others were there. I know Robin Prouty was there, was very well represented. Chicago, the state of Illinois, reparations task force chair was there as well. In addition to that, they have other initiatives, state initiatives. There's a Minnesota Migration Act, Restitution Act. It's a statewide initiative that is happening there. We're asking that if you are in the area that you do support these initiatives. Next in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas, actually. Sister Mary Dean has been taking great ownership and leadership in Wichita, Kansas for reparations on February 5th, they introduced a reparations legislation, and they understand on February 15th that it's under a 30 to 60-day legal review. So more to come from there. But in the meantime, there are petition opportunities and other events, and also an opportunity to send a letter of support. So we're going to follow up after this meeting with a video of this meeting, as well as some collateral, which includes calls to actions for different cities that you can show up and support. Kansas City, we have Janae and Baba Mickey Dean that are doing great things in leadership there with all of their partners. My last update is they had a visit from Redress Network that went well. They have a commitment of $210,000 from their mayor to begin a budget for the task force, and they're looking to raise more. Please contact Janae or Mickey Dean for more details there. And also, please do send us any written reports so that we can include it in reports that we're going to send out. That would be very helpful. No real updates in Evanston. We continue to disperse reparations. We have dispersed over $3 million. I'll get a better update after our committee meeting, which is actually coming up next week. We will have new recommendations coming in April around economic development. So we have economic development recommendations that are forthcoming, and I look forward to reporting on that as well. And then Chicago is ready for reparations. Mayor Brandon Johnson has committed $500,000 to establish a task force. I don't have those updates on if the task force applications are open or how that process is going. I did try to reach out to some folks in Chicago, but do know that you should be in community with the Conrad Worrell Commission and Cobra Chicago, Black Roots Alliance, Reparations United, specifically if you are looking for more updates. But we ask that even if you're not able to attend your regional meetings, that you send a report ahead, and we can make sure that we get that information out, any links and events. I know that the Black Roots Alliance is having a reparations event for Midwest reparations coming up. And before the meeting is over, we'll put it in the chat, and we'll also include it in the follow-up. And I'm sure there's more. That's what we have based on the participation in our regional session that happened earlier this week. Do we have someone here from the West? No, but I see Brother Jamoke now. Jamoke, are you ready to report on the South?
Yeah, I was listening to Jean-Pierre, and all of a sudden my computer cut out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
All right. And Mickey Dean updated your figure to 360,000
Okay, all right.
in the chat. So yeah, in terms of the South region though, basically just wanted to report out that the Beacon Hill Alliance, which has been working on reparations in Decatur, right outside of Atlanta, just got awarded $25,000 seed money to continue the research that they're doing and the community engagement work that they're doing, leading towards setting up a reparations task force. And it was voted unanimously by the Decatur City Council. So very a lot of positive energy in that meeting in terms of the support for Beacon Hill's work around reparations. And that was pretty much it. We spent the rest of our session brainstorming and working with Freemantown Cemetery in Georgia, giving them some ideas and some strategies of how to move forward and advance the work that they've been doing. So that's the South report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then lastly, did anyone come on from the West? If not, then we have a little bit more time for our incredible presentation. No?
Karen
Rob-
shared in the chat. Yeah.
Hey, Robin, this is Karen Hughes from California and Reparation Generation. Frankly, I'm not sure that there is a regional organization for the West. I need to find out about that, but I can just share with folks a couple of things from California. And Kim was actually at the meeting where I got these updates 2 days ago, but just for folks to know, there are a number of bills that have been introduced in the California legislature that came out of the California Reparations Task Force. I think 4 of them have been referred to committees, and they are hopefully going to be moving forward, and there's letters of support available that I can share with people in the chat if you want to see them. And perhaps sign on. The first one is going to be heard in committee. I don't have the date, but it's next week, and I can give you people the link if you want to listen in to that hearing. And it's the one that I think is related to setting up the overall office that will manage this stuff. So exciting that this is moving forward, and they are really aligned with and as politically feasible as possible. So trying to make strategic choices, and being led by the organization that I participate in there is called the California Organizations for Reparations. And sometimes the leaders are on here, but I don't see them today.
Karen, thank you so much for jumping in for that update. And if you could definitely put in the chat, Bailey, when the West meets, or even Linda. So the West is meeting regularly. There's a regional session that happens, I believe, the fourth week of the month. It's a standing meeting. And please do join so that you can share those updates and it can be included in a report. But thank you so much. That West region is staffed by Redress Network, as well as the South region. And with that, that is our regional reports. We're gonna go ahead and move straight into our presentations. And our presenters are no stranger to any of us. One is an absolute icon, Queen Attorney Nkechi Taifa. And the other is in that same vein, author, incredible leader, Jam, Jessica. And we're really excited to have them present on the closing of Women's History Month. It's important that we acknowledge the long history of women in leadership in the reparations movement. We've often been at the forefront historically and presently. Even the future leaders of the reparations movement are likely to be women, like one of our bright emerging leaders, Sister Miranda, who I see on the call from NCOBRA. So I just wanted to make sure that we lifted up women. There's going to be a report historically, more contemporary, but I want to take this moment to just really celebrate all the women that we get to collaborate with today. Women are fueling the movement with fundraising like ARIA, and they are leading with education like so many. And I don't want to get into naming folks, but so many of you on this call, I want to say, I see you, I'm in the struggle with you. And it's amazing how we do it and still show up with grace and, you know, patience and beauty while managing family and business and whatever else it is. And so with that, I'm not going to read their bios because we have very limited time and their bios would take the duration of this meeting. But I am going to ask that you go to the Black Information Trust to learn more about JAM's leadership, and to Reparations Education Project to learn more about Attorney Nkechi Taifa's leadership. And with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Sister Jam first. And I know that you need screen sharing privileges, as well as after that, we'll have Nkechi's presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for having me today. Hi, everyone. It is so great to see you all's faces and just be in community with you. So I'm Jessica Ann Mitchell. You're founder of the National Black Cultural Information Trust. We share news, information, and resources that uplifts the collective freedom of Black communities. I'm super excited about the topic of women in the reparations movement. And I have been tasked with showcasing many of our ancestors that were fighting for reparations during the period of enslavement and shortly thereafter. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I'm going to try to put it in presentation mode. We're going to see if that works. Let me see. Can I do present? Give me just a second. And if it doesn't work, we'll just do it just like this. Can you see the whole slideshow? Okay, great. Oh Lord, it is moving. Okay. So I wanted to start with the story of Belinda Royal, or Belinda Sutton. She's one of the she has one of the earliest slave narratives and is among one of the first people that historians acknowledge have called for reparations in America. She was born in Ghana sometime around 1713, and she is taken and brought to America in Massachusetts and is enslaved by the Royal estate and is owned by Isaac Royal Jr. from 1737 to 1781. Now, this estate has the most amount of enslaved Africans in the state of Massachusetts. They're the largest slaveholders in the state. They gained their wealth from slavery, sugar, and rum. I have sugary there. Oh gosh, typo. During the American Revolution, Isaac Royal Jr., he flees. And during this time, he tells some of his family members to sell off the enslaved people, some of the enslaved people that he has, so he can get some additional money, because he flees to Nova Scotia and then eventually ends up back in London because he's a loyalist, and he is beholden to the British. But one of the interesting things that he does is, in his will, he gives Belinda Sutton, or at this time she's Belinda Royal, her freedom. He writes in his will that she is to go to his daughter if she doesn't want to be freed. But if she does want to be freed, free her, and because I don't want her to end up under the town, and give her money so that she can take care of herself. So he writes this in his will that he does want Belinda to be freed, taken care of. This was written around 1778. He dies in 1781. The will also ironically gives money to Harvard University, which establishes their first law professorship at Harvard, where they have the royal chair. Or I think they may have even changed the name now, but there was a law professorship under the name the royal chair. In 1783, Belinda Royal, she petitions Massachusetts General Court for reparations, so that she can get the money that is due to her from this estate. And she possibly has got assistance from Prince Hall, who's the father of Prince Hall Masonry, the father of Black Masons. She could not read or write, so she definitely did get assistance with this. The Massachusetts legislature did approve an annual pension of 15 pounds and 12 shillings that is going to be paid from the estate. We know that she did at least receive one payment. She also received some additional money from another royal family member, but she has to go back to the court multiple times for back pay and petitioning for this money. So whatever, we're unsure of the full amount that she actually received, but we know that she didn't receive all of the money that she was owed, even with the approval. But this still is a significant story. This is the 1700s. This is an African woman born in the western region of Africa, around Ghana and Nigeria, to petitioning in front of a high court for repair. So this is this is one of the leading stories, the beginning stories for the fight for reparations in America. So this is just a screenshot of Harvard Law School last year pledging $500,000, because there's still the Royal House and the slave quarters still exist as a museum in Medford, Massachusetts. We also have the story of Callie Guy House. She was, let me go back. She was enslaved near Nashville, Tennessee, born around 1861. She was married with 5 children later on and became a washerwoman. This is after emancipation. In 1896, she co-founded the National Ex-Slave Mutual Relief Bounty and Pension Association with Isaiah Dickerson, and then they chartered the organization in 1898. She starts out as a secretary, but then she becomes the head of the organization, traveling across the South, educating people on the fight for reparations, getting people to join in on the fight for reparations. And at some point, the membership is as high as 300,000 members. Now, of course, a Black woman formerly enslaved in the South, advocating and pushing for reparations is going to get pushback from the powers that be. So she is harassed by local and federal authorities and is eventually convicted by an all-white jury and imprisoned for mail fraud in Jefferson City, Missouri, because they said she was lying to the formerly enslaved people and saying that and riling them up and telling them that reparations were coming. And they didn't like that. So they indicted her and imprisoned her for mail fraud. After she finished her sentence in Jefferson City, Missouri, about, I believe, 2 years later, she passed away from cancer. I wanted to also include the story of Sojourner Truth. We know her as the magnificent abolitionist and preacher. She was Dutch American. Her prior name was Isabella van Wagenen. She got into an argument with her former enslaver over the New York anti-slavery law of 1827, which was supposed to lead to her emancipation, but because they didn't want to free her, she self-emancipated and then went to work for the Van Wagner family, where she also received financial assistance from them. And she's mostly known for that 1851 Women's Rights Convention speech where it says, "Ain't I a woman?" But it's likely, according to historians, that is probably not what she said, because again, she was not of Southern heritage. She was a Dutch American, and that dialect is inaccurate, just so that people know she probably never said, "Ain't I a woman?" But even though she was most famous for that, news emerged in the last 2 years of this incredible historic case where in 1828 she becomes the first Black woman to win a legal victory against a white man to get the freedom of her family. And they have the documents in the Schomburg Center. It was just a couple of years ago that a researcher unearthed these documents and were able to learn more about this case and learn more about the history that she made that many of us never knew ever occurred. So at some time around 1797, she's born. She has later on in the 1800s, she has her infant daughter. She leaves. She goes and works for the Van Wagner family. Her former enslaver has her son, Peter. Now, at the time, New York had those laws where they were phasing out slavery. And there was supposed to be a time cutoff where children at the time would be considered indentured servants. And then as they reach a particular age, they would be free. They wouldn't be under chattel slavery anymore. But what happened is her son was illegally sold into slavery in Alabama. And so he didn't get to become that indentured servant and stay in New York. And so she was able to get 2 lawyers. She also had the help from the Van Wagner family, and she was able to successfully sue to get her son returned to her. So he was first brought back to New York, and then at some point, a commissioner in New York officially declared her son free from slavery. So this is also an incredible case for abolition, but also repair. Then we have the incredible story of Henrietta Wood, who sued for reparations in 1870. And she won $2,500, which is a humongous amount of money for that time period, the largest known to an individual, a former enslaved person, for reparations that we know of to date. So the story is very interesting. She's born around 1818, 1820 in Kentucky. She's sold and taken to different states. Eventually, she's bought by a French immigrant named William Sarode, and she's taken to New Orleans. And around the 1844 or somewhere around that time, William leaves and abandons his family. So she is still under the ownership of his wife, Jane. Jane takes her to a free state, Ohio. At some point, they return, and Jane frees Henrietta Wood, goes to the courthouse, officially frees her. But the children, Saro's daughter, her son-in-law, they believe that Henrietta should be a part of their birthright, that they should own her and she shouldn't have gotten free. So what they do is they embark in this scheme with a man named Zebulon Ward, where they kidnap Henrietta, hide her, and she is hidden in different locations. She somehow ends up in a Texas plantation. She is freed after the era of emancipation. She then returns to Cincinnati in 1869, and she sues Zebulon Ward for the illegal slavery that she was put under, considering the fact that she was officially freed. She wins. The jury states, "We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, do find for the plaintiff and assess her damages in the premises of $2,500. Now, she asked for, I think, $60,000, but she received a much smaller amount, but it's still a significant amount of money, $2,500. So these are some of the women on whose shoulders that we stand, and I'm just happy to be able to highlight their work today.
Thank you, Jam. It's so important that we know that this is not new work. It's not novel. We haven't innovated anything. We are standing on the shoulders of so many that have been doing this work long before us. So thank you, Jam, for that. And next we have Nikichi.
Yes, thank you, Robin. And thank you so very much, Jam, for that powerful information, some of which I did not even know. So my remarks are going to center on women in the modern era of reparations movement that I personally walked with, learned from, sat at their feet of, organized with, who were part of NCOBRA in the very early days. Many of them were founders, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. All who followed the examples of women upon whose legacy they stood that Jam just mentioned, Belinda Royal Sutton and Henrietta Wood and Callie House, and most influential Queen Mother Audley Moore, upon whose shoulders we all stand. I mean, we all know about John Conyers. Everybody knows about John Conyers, but most of us don't know Marsha Rika J. Wanser, Dorothy Tillman, Lady Claudia Nelson, Diana Kimball, Arlene Rico, and Jerry Afghani, or even the ones that I'm going to focus on today, Queen Mother Dorothy Benton Lewis, Ajua Ayatoro, Janita Scott Obedelli, and Kapinda Olusegun. But it's important that we know about people who some are ancestors and some are here walking along besides us, but we don't know their names because many times Black women are marginalized or erased from history. And I'm just going to touch on Queen Mother, only just touch in terms of some areas that most folk probably don't know about. And her book, Ashley Farmer's book, will be coming out, a biography on Queen Mother soon. So Queen Mother hopefully will be plastered all over, you know, since then. But we've already know and have heard that Queen Mother Audley Moore was an ardent supporter and follower of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and United Negro Improvement Association. And when the provisional government of the Republic of New Africa was in its formative stages, she associated herself with the Henry brothers, i.e. Milton Henry, Vitry Henry, also known as Gaidi Obadeli and Imari Obadeli, that was part of the Malcolm X Society. And when the Declaration of Independence for the Republic of New Africa was signed in Detroit on March 31st, 1968, Queen Mother Moore's signature was the first. Okay, and assuring that within the New African Declaration of Independence, it basically said, we claim no rights from the United States other than those rights belonging to oppressed people wherever they may be in the world. And these include the right to damages, reparations due us for the grievous harms sustained by our ancestors and ourselves by reason of U.S. lawlessness. Queen Mother Moore also inspired the first street action of the Republic of New Africa, a reparations petition campaign in 1968 in about 10 cities coast to coast. She was also influential throughout the 80s in the African National Reparations Organization, who was holding nationwide hearings on reparations led by the African People's Socialist Party. And she would often say, there wasn't nothing to do but to get into the struggle. And although her health started to fail several years after the founding of NCOBA, she was a prominent supporter of this new coalition, gracing her presence at many of the early conventions. And I had the opportunity to put my baby daughter in 1994 in her arms in NCOBA convention in Detroit. And yeah, I did. That is a picture I did in fact snap. So her motivation, was phenomenal. And following her footsteps were many outstanding women who were and are part of NCOBA. Indeed, from the inception of NCOBA, women have been an integral and intimate part of its development. Black female participation and leadership was encouraged instead of the traditional backseat and secretarial type of positions. Yet, despite their invaluable contributions, women in the reparations movement often face marginalization and, yes, again, erasure within mainstream narratives and sometimes even movement narratives. And so the struggle for recognition and representation remains just a little bit of them right now. Some are ancestors and some are still living. And some of this comes from a book, 8 Women Leaders of the Reparations Movement, that was written by Linda Allen Ustas and Imari Obadeli in the year 2000. But I want to touch on Dorothy Lewis first, very, very briefly. She had been a reparationist since elementary school in Alaska. She had to endure discussions on the benefits of slavery to those enslaved, taught from the slave owner's perspective. And sometimes she was only the Black child in class and found it very painful. She later was a member of the NAACP in Fairbanks, Alaska, when the chapter was asked to support the Alaskan Natives' land claims against the U.S. government. And see, the U.S. Government, when it brought Alaska from Russia, they had totally ignored the land rights and existence of indigenous Alaska Native peoples. So the Fairbanks NAACP voted to support the Alaskan Natives' land claim and further agreed that not only was a land claim in order, but a labor claim for Black people as well. And so although the NAACP was able to get support from the national office, National NAACP, for the Alaska Native Lands claim, not for the labor claim for Black. So it's like decades later that NAACP came on board with respect to reparations for Black. So then Dorothy came to the United States. She continued her advocacy for reparations for Black folk. She started an organization with Irvin Davis called the Black Reparations Commission, BRIC. She looked around to see who else was working on the issue, connected with us. She became a judge with the Republic of New Africa. She worked as part of the RNA Foreign Affairs Task Force. She worked with the African National Reparations Organization under the leadership of African People's Socialist Party. And it's been said that she is the one that reached out to RNA President Imari Obadeli to call a meeting to bring together reparations-loving people to Washington, which later became known as NCOBA. And Dorothy was, I think, the first female national co-chair of NCOBA, and she authored many, many pamphlets. that brings me to Adjoa Ayatoro. Adjoa Ayatoro is still very much living and with us. I call her a masterpiece. In the mid-'80s, she became my mentor in the practice of law. I was a baby lawyer just out of law school, and I was her mentor in the Black nationalist and reparations movement. She introduced me to the legal activist world of the National Conference of Black Lawyers. Through her, I became acquainted with its great leaders such as Hayward Burns, Leonard Hines, Charlie Vogt, Margaret Burnham. I introduced Adjoa to the revolutionary world of Black nationalists, reparations, political prisoners. And I think it was her openness to these politics that really was what brought NCBL on board to support reparations. I admired her legal acumen and her openness towards the issue of reparations. And during that time, again, one of the foremost experts espousing reparations was none other than Brother Imari Obadeli. So it was Adjoa who engineered the Harvard Conference, NCBL conference that brought together Imari Obadeli, Chokwe Lumumba, Richard America, and myself to Harvard to talk about the issue of reparations. And it was that convening really that ended up leading to the formation of NCOBA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. Adjoa was also during NCOBA, she was a female co-chair, and she was the chief strategist for the NCOBA Legal Strategies Commission, which we came up with those 5 injury areas that we talk about with NCOBA, which again sought to offset the legal claim of statute of limitations, because we said reparations was not just for the slavery era, but for its continuing legacies that last down through today: wealth, poverty, health, education, mass incarceration, criminal punishment system, and self-determination. Okay, then moving next on to Janita Scott Obadeli, former co-chair of NCOBA with Baba Hannibal Afrique. She was the wife of Imari Obadeli, came from an auspicious family, prestigious family in Louisiana. Her father, the late Reverend John Scott, worked to obtain voting rights for Blacks in the late 40s until success in the early 60s. She witnessed many abuses, in the South. She knew exactly that it was reparations that was needed. It's because of Janita, who was a ardent Christian, that really served to help bring many more organizations and faith-based groups and sororities into the reparations movement. A major contribution to NCOBA mainstreaming the movement. And she also edited the NCOBA magazine, NCOBA. And then Kupinda Olusegun, co-chair of the Commission on Membership and Organizational Development. Her husband was Vince Godwin, Kalonji Olusegun. All of these were founders of NCOBA. Kupinda's father was a Garveyite, very knowledgeable about the history of Black people. And although she does not recall him actually using the term reparation, he deferred his dreams to provide for his family and died without the opportunity to realize, it's a result of white supremacy and racism. So during those first 10 years of NCOBA, Kupinda and her husband provided volunteer office staff and related correspondence. And again, Kupinda, she's still with us. These are elders in the movement. Joanne Watson, I think she's the last one I'm going to share. Ancestor now, co-chair of the Detroit chapter of NCOBA, at-large member of the National Board of Directors of NCOBA, and co-chair of its Information Commission, a longtime supporter of the reparations movement. She worked very closely with Reparations Ray Jenkins of Detroit, actually giving him the name Reparations Ray because he would always call into her radio station talking about reparations, so she nicknamed him Reparations Ray. She was a staff person for Congressman John Conyers, was a great conduit between what was going on legislatively and what we were doing organizationally. And from 90 to 97, she served as the first woman director of the Detroit NAACP, helped to promote reparations as a priority issue for the NAACP, as well as garnered the endorsement of the national NAACP. So, baby, just in conclusion, I just want to say that as we honor the legacies of these phenomenal women. Let us ensure that their voices are not only heard, but amplified in the ongoing quest for reparatory justice. And as newer women such as Jessica Ann Mitchell, I will war, and Robin Ruth Simmons, okay, take the helm, moving us closer to a reparations victory. The younger folk, Miranda, Lily X, Bailey, Aziza, the younger folk need to realize that we were all young when we started. And so it is really up to you to continue holding the torch till we bring us to final victory. Thank you.
Just so grateful for you, Nikichi. I'm gonna tell you every time I see you. Thank you for that history. Look for a video to uplift the women of the movement coming tomorrow. It'll be on First Repair socials. A lot of this information that was shared from Jam and Nikichi will be included. And look for yourselves in the video as well. And so now we want to open it up for questions, comments from each of you. Just unmute yourself and jump right to it. Aziza.
Oh, hey guys, happy Women's History Month.
Hey, Aziza.
Thank you, Jam, thank you, and Kichi, thank you, Robin, thank you for your team. I'm like so happy, and Kichi, you uplifted like how hard it is as a woman in this space. And so I would like to know more, like how can we like continue to encourage each other with the things that are going on with, that have been going on a long time in the movement, and coming out of that, and being able to lead with grace continually and showing up.
So yes, I'm not sure if that was a question for me, but thank you for raising the question. And I'm going to speak not just for women, but women and men. I don't usually make, separations, but we need to love each other. We need to trust each other. We need to assume the best intent of each other. We need to not be crabs in the barrel. We need to understand that as one succeeds, we all succeed. And I think when we do that, we'll be able to more quickly get to our destination and get to our goal. We need to have faith that we can do this, but we can only do this if we're unified. So that goes for the women, the men, the brothers, the sisters, the family, the Black family needs to come together for this. So thank you for your comment question.
Greetings.
Right. One second, Jamoke. We have Miranda's hand up, and then we'll come to you next.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank y'all both. Like, the information that y'all been dropping has just inspired me to do my own research, right? Because it was just like, what? That happened? Especially you, Jim. I was like, what? Especially when it comes to like the historical figures, but definitely reaching back to our most recent history, to the people who are still alive in Kishi. So I really appreciate you for that as well. I just want to say, with that, as far as you see, especially with women in the space and in the movement and how we move forward, is there a space for us to tackle racism with sexism at the same time? Like, is there a space for that? Is that something that we can do?
I'm not sure if it was for me or Nikiti or both, but I feel like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a reason why not. I think that's for Black women specifically. That's always been like a point of contention. When we even look back at the narratives from many of our more recent movements, that has been what something that we have had to encounter. When you said that, it instantly made me think of the narratives that came out of the civil rights movement, and then like people wondering how the Black feminist movement began to flourish. It actually came out of what occurred during the civil rights movement prior. But I think there's always space for acknowledgement, and space for everyone to learn how to treat each other better, and acknowledging the different trials and tribulations that Black women face, even in movement building.
Nikiti, did you want to add anything? Or
I'll just say that I know Billy put in the chat intersectionality, and that's really what it is. Someone else put in Jane Crow. I mean, it was Jane Crow, as well. And we just need to realize and understand that we are multiple intersecting systems of oppression that we are, that we're afflicted with. And we cannot fully deal with one without dealing with the others as well. So it is hand in hand and part and parcel. Thank you for the question.
thank you. Next we have, in this order, Jamoke, Priscilla, and then Claire, and that's going to conclude our comments and questions.
You know what, you can skip me. I think we've moved on, so
Okay.
thanks. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, I just want to thank Jam and Akichi for the great information that was shared. When I think about the reparations movement in general, I tend to automatically think about great women leaders, because that's who, when you think about the reparations movement, the people that stand out the most: Queen Mother Moore, Dorothy Benton Lewis, Callie House. But I just wanted to add a few little notes. I think it's very important that when we lift up Sojourner Truth, that we also acknowledge that she took a petition around. She had a conversation with a U.S. senator around giving land to formerly enslaved Africans, 20 acres of land out west, when they were giving land out west in Nebraska and Kansas. And she took a petition around to get support for that. And unfortunately, when she came back with signatures from around the country in support of that reparations initiative, that senator had transitioned, and there was nobody else that was interested in taking it up. But that's a little story that I like to lift up about Sojourner Truth, who actually moved on the issue of reparations. Also just wanted to mention, when you mentioned Callie House, that Callie House also put forward a lawsuit, which is considered the first reparations or class action lawsuit. And she teamed up with an attorney in DC, Cornelius Jones, to put forward a lawsuit based on cotton tax. And that's a whole story in and of itself. And then I just wanted to bring out the fact that NCOBRA, understand the importance of dual leadership. And so, as many of you know or may not know, NCOBRA is established with male and female co-chairs at the national level and at the local level. And again, when I think about it, usually it's been the women that have been the most dynamic leaders. Maybe they were like, we need to make sure the women are and have a key position, because the women have been the most dynamic leaders, even in NCOBRA with the dual leadership of male and female co-chairs. And so I just wanted to lift that up, and then also make a correction that it was Aju Ayatoro who was the first female co-chair of NCOBRA. And so again, just want to thank you all for bringing this into the space and this great conversations about these women and their contributions to the reparations movement.
Thank you for all those contributions, Jamoke. And then last we have Priscilla.
Okay, hold on. I'm here now. Okay. I just wanted to say that this is my first time attending these meetings, and it was very informative. I'm encouraged. I have more energy and just ready to go. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, and we are seeking reparation. And our Reparation Commission has been in operation for over 2 years now. Asheville, I've been told, is the only place that have our original acquisitions file from Urban Renewal. And I did research on those files and have been pushing the information out there, and have developed a website, urbanrenewalimpact.org. So this today, listening, has just it's the wind beneath my wings. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. We are in full support of all the great things that are happening in Asheville. Please do join the regional session so we can include Asheville in the updates, because there's great things happening, both with the commission and also the RSA, the Reparations Stakeholder Authority of Asheville is also. You should follow them. Everyone follow them on Instagram. They have a great Instagram account. So thank you again to Jam and Nikiti. This was incredible, as I knew it would be. Please, everyone, make sure that you follow them. Jam has a new book out. Jam, if you could post a link in the chat. Nikichi has a whole library of books that she has written and published. So if you want to post Reparations on Fire or whichever you like, even your website, and they have access to all of them. I just want to lift up my colleague in the local movement. Claire was here. Claire is an incredible leader, Attorney Claire. Actually, I saw that Tashik, our staff leader who holds it all together, was here. I was excited to see Dreesen here. I don't think I've seen Dreesen here before, but Dreesen has a very informative listserv on reparations. So Dreesen, if you want to drop anything in the chat on how folks can stay updated on your listserv. And with that, our next meeting next month, same time, same place. It is Professor Al Tillery. He was one of the most sought after and subsequently requested speakers at our symposium. He produced an incredible survey for reparations in Evanston, but in addition to that, he's a political strategist, in addition to being a professor and a founding director of a center at Northwestern University here in Evanston. But he's a political strategist and has a lot to say about the parties and our vote and strategy around advancing reparations while we work around sustain anti-Blackness in this nation. Anything else, Bailey, that I am forgetting?
Nope, I think you covered it all. I just will add that a recording of this meeting will be available on YouTube by Monday. So you will be able to access that.
Perfect. Thank you all. You're just going to really stress, please do join your regional meetings because we would like to have a more complete update going forward as much as possible. If you can't come, please feel free to send written notes to bailey@firstrepair.org. And with that, have a blessed rest of your week.
Thank you.